A man can spend years growing a thicker beard, while the hair only a few inches above it slowly disappears. As puberty begins, dark hairs spread across his chin and cheeks. Over time, the beard thickens, but above it, the hairline may begin moving backward, and the crown may start looking thinner. So the same man can be growing more hair below, while producing less hair above. Most people blame testosterone, but that answer creates a problem. If male hormones make hair grow, why would they also make hair vanish? At first, the explanation seems obvious. Puberty increases androgen activity. The beard develops. Body hair becomes more noticeable. So it is easy to imagine male hormones acting like one universal switch. More hormone, more hair. That simple rule appears to fit what puberty does across the face and body. But the beard and the scalp belong to the same person. They are supplied by the same bloodstream. They exist inside the same hormonal system. Yet one region may produce thicker hair, while another gradually produces less. The mystery is not simply how much hormone is present. Before puberty, the follicles that will later produce a beard are already there. Many of them make hairs that are short, soft, pale, and difficult to notice. They are already active, but the hairs they produce are easy to miss. Puberty does not suddenly create new beard follicles. It changes what the existing follicles produce. Under androgen-related signaling, some fine facial hairs become longer, darker, and thicker, eventually forming the coarse, visible hairs of an adult beard. On the face, the signal can encourage stronger hair growth, but move only a few inches upward, and a related signal can have the opposite effect. Hair follicles are not identical machines. A follicle on the chin is biologically different from a follicle at the hairline. Its behavior depends on its location. It also depends on its inherited biology and its sensitivity to hormonal signals. One important signal is dihydrotestosterone, usually shortened to DHT. The body produces DHT from testosterone, but DHT does not create the same result in every follicle. In beard follicles, the signal can help fine hairs become thicker and more visible. In genetically susceptible scalp follicles, that hormonal signal can interfere with the normal growth cycle. Researchers sometimes call this the androgen paradox. A related hormonal signal encourages growth in one region, while weakening it in another. This does not mean a bald man necessarily has more testosterone. It also does not mean every man exposed to DHT will lose his hair. Hormone levels alone cannot explain the pattern. The follicle's sensitivity changes the outcome. On the face, the signal can strengthen hair growth. At a susceptible hairline or crown, it can gradually weaken it. But scalp hair usually does not disappear in one sudden event. The change happens across repeated growth cycles. At first, a follicle may produce a normal, thick strand of hair. Later, it may produce a slightly thinner strand. The next one may be shorter and finer. The active growth period may also become shorter. Each new hair can spend less time growing and emerge weaker than the one before it. After enough cycles, the follicle may produce a hair so small that it is difficult to see. The hair appears to have vanished, but the change was gradual. The follicle was miniaturized. Thick hair, then thinner hair, then short, fine hair, then something almost invisible. The follicle may still be present, even when the hair it produces is barely visible. That is how a strong scalp hair can slowly disappear from view, while the follicle itself remains beneath the skin. But this creates another question. Why does male pattern hair loss usually follow such a recognizable shape? Why do the temples and crown often thin first, while hair remains around the sides and back? Because even the scalp is not one uniform region. Follicles near the front and crown are often more susceptible to DHT. Follicles around the sides and back are usually more resistant. That regional difference creates the familiar pattern. The hairline moves backward. A thin spot opens at the crown, but a band of hair remains around the lower scalp. That is why the pattern often forms a recognizable map, instead of thinning evenly everywhere. Hair transplantation provides a useful clue. Follicles can be moved from the back of the head into an area that has already begun thinning, and many of them continue behaving more like hair from the back than hair from their new location. The surrounding skin has changed, but the follicle carries much of its original biological behavior with it. The follicle itself matters. That still leaves one final question. Why does one man lose much of his scalp hair, while another keeps nearly all of it? The answer depends strongly on inherited susceptibility. Different men inherit different combinations of traits that affect follicle sensitivity. Those inherited differences can influence when thinning begins and how far it progresses. One man may begin thinning early. Another may keep most of his scalp hair for decades. This is why two men can have similar hormone levels, but very different hairlines. A thick beard does not guarantee baldness, and baldness does not prove that a man has unusually high testosterone. The beard and the scalp are connected to the same hormonal system, but their follicles do not react in the same way. Now think about the man from the beginning. He may spend months trying to make the beard below his face look thicker. He trims it, shapes it, waits for empty patches to fill in. At the same time, he may inspect the hairline above it. He may compare it with an old photograph, or look at the crown under a brighter light, hoping it has not changed. One type of hair is styled, shaped, and displayed. The other is watched, counted, and worried over. That contradiction only seems impossible if hair is treated as one universal system. It is not. Your body does not have one simple switch called grow hair. Different follicles can read the same chemistry in different ways. On the face, the signal can strengthen growth. At a susceptible hairline or crown, it can gradually weaken it. The signal may be similar. The response depends on the follicle.